marketing is key. Marketing, when budgets get tight, people are like, I can do that myself. But if you're not somebody who has an understanding of how marketing works and how messaging works, please outsource it, because you only get one chance to make a first impression. Now, a lot of people say, well, I never found them until later on. Yes, on social media, you get multiple options to make a first impression. Brand consistency is important. That would be my biggest piece of advice. Brand consistency is important.
Hey everyone, this is Devin Miller here with another episode of The Inventive Journey. I'm your host, Devin Miller, the serial entrepreneur that's grown several startups into 7- and 8-figure businesses, as well as the founder and CEO of Miller IP Law, where he helps startups and small businesses with their patents and trademarks. If you ever need help with yours, just go to strategymeeting.com, grab some time with us to chat, and we're always here to help. Now, today we've got another great guest on the podcast, Wendy Pace, and Wendy started out her journey growing up in New York. Went off to college and went into communications. Afterwards, got married, had her kids, and then ended up getting back into the workforce and worked in corporate marketing as the kids got older for a period of time, and then needed to work from home with the kids and having some needs to address. And so with that, started a social media business on her own, working from home, and has grown that to include a number of staff members and continued to have success there. So with that much as an introduction, welcome on the podcast, Wendy.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely excited to have you on. So I just gave a quick walkthrough to a much longer journey. So why don't we rewind and unpack things a little bit and tell us a little bit about how your journey got started growing up in New York?
Well, I grew up on the South Shore of Long Island and went to Hunter College, which is part of the City University of New York system, and got a degree in communications. Actually, at that time, I think the degree is called human communications, because I guess animal communication was a whole nother major. And that was a setup for me to go on to be a speech pathologist, which never happened. I met my husband to be, and we got married and quickly had children afterwards, and grad school got put on hold. So being a stay-at-home mom, I attacked being a mother like I attacked starting my business later on. It was my job and I was going to be the best at it. So I was the best I could be for my kids while they needed me. Fast forward, a little bit into junior high school for my youngest child, we discovered she had epilepsy. And that changes your perspective in parenting quite a bit. But I never wanted that to be a hurdle for her, or be a block, I should say. It was just a hurdle, not a wall. So we continued on. She got into high school. My son left for college. And the only thing that I couldn't get around was driving. She was not able to get a license as their normal 16-year-old would. And I relied very heavily on my son to pick her up and take her to and from school. And so, because I had gone back to work, corporate marketing, as we had said, and that meant I was traveling for business quite a bit. And so when my son left for college, I lost my third adult and I had no way to be there for her. So I had to figure out how to work and still be a caregiver. So Pace Setting Media was born. And
Now, just one quick question, just to fill
sure.
that in a bit. So you'd been working in corporate marketing, and how long you rejoined the workforce, or how long had you been doing that?
I've been in the workforce probably about 4 or 5 years in different capacities. And getting back into corporate marketing itself, so when I got back into the workforce, I was working for a really small company, nothing, life shattering as glamorous as traveling, to different conferences and all of that. It was very basic marketing stuff. So then when I got the corporate marketing job, I was then traveling and setting up conferences, and it looked and sounded a lot more glamorous than it actually was. So having to start a small business, having to figure out how to use the skill set that I had, came really over cocktails. I mean, most things there's businesses start in the garage, on the throne, or over cocktails. I mean, let's be honest.
And that was where I was, or maybe a follow up question, which is, so you say that's over cocktails. Now, I certainly get hey, we have the need to make sure we take care of the kids, and we need to adjust the work situation to accommodate that. Makes perfect sense. Now, as you're doing that, how did you figure out? Because I mean, there could have been a number of things. It could have been, hey, look for remote positions that work for someone else. Could be starting your own business, could be, or moving, or, relocating, or looking for different alternatives. So how did you kind of over cocktail settle on, hey, I'll go start my own business? And how did you figure out what that might be?
So another fellow stay-at-home mom, right, from back in the day, she had also gone back into the workplace, and she was the director of marketing at a small firm in Indiana, and she was in town. And we were having cocktails, and she said, I told her about my situation, because having us both working in marketing, it made sense that we would talk about where we'd been and where we're going. And she was like, oh, I want to expand the social media content for the company.
Hmm.
And I was like, okay, you get an intern to, like, why would you want to outsource? That didn't make sense. Then now you have, mind you, this is 9 years ago, right? Facebook is still not in its infancy, but it was starting to come into business. It was more than just pictures of cheesecake after your lunch, or, grandbaby pictures. It was starting to become a channel that businesses were starting to utilize. So she's over cocktail, says, yeah, I want to have more robust social media presence. And I'm like, have another drink, get yourself an intern. Why would I? That made no sense to me. So she was like, no, no, no. And we talked about it a little bit more, and I truthfully disregarded it. She calls me back a month later, and she's like, I need your proposal. I'm putting it in my budget. I want you to handle the social media. And I was like, oh, okay. Can you give me to Monday? And she's like, Monday's the latest I can take it. I have to put it in the budget. Okay. So over that weekend, I came up with a name, I built a website, came up with a slogan, and I wrote up the proposal, and I sent it in, and I got it. Having a conversation with my husband, I was like, well, if there's one company looking for this, there's 5 companies looking for this, and I just have to find them.
Hmm.
And that is really and truly how Pace Setting Media got started. It was over a weekend in July.
So now, maybe to follow up, because that's definitely interesting. Now, how did you go about finding those guys? So, I mean, the first company was, hey, met him over cocktail. Hey, I'm going to put this in the budget. I need to know what it is. So you scrambled to get that in place and get going. But now you're saying, okay, to your point, you need to have, typically you're going to want to have multiple clientele and, different streams of revenue, and not beholden to just one, or, one client type of thing. So how did you then go about finding those 5, or, whatever number of companies it was that then allowed you to continue to grow and expand the business?
So this is where networking becomes your friend, right? This is networking is the key. And I joined my local chamber. I joined some other networking groups that would have or tailor to the smaller business that may not be. I wasn't looking for startups. I was looking for businesses that were small enough that they weren't going to have somebody in-house doing their marketing. I needed a company that had to have some kind of marketing budget. They knew that they needed some kind of marketing, in what shape or form they may not be aware of, but that wasn't doing it in-house and wasn't big enough that they were already with, a big marketing firm. one of the things I have to say is I picked the lane when I started pace setting media. I picked the lane of social media management. That was all I was going to do, was just manage social media. And that to this day is still the bread and butter of pace setting media. Yes, we do newsletters. Yes, we do email blasts. Yes, we do direct mail marketing, and we'll help you conceive your brand and formulate it and put all of that together. But at the end of the day, it's LinkedIn, it's Facebook, it's Twitter, it's Instagram. Those are the places that most business owners did not have or do not have the hours that it takes to implement a social media campaign.
Mm.
So I started networking, and I met one here and I met one there, and I hit the networking circuit really, really hard. And it paid off, because by the end of the first 6 months, I had 6 clients.
No, that's awesome. And, I think that sometimes there is not a replacement for getting out there, networking, knowing your lane or picking your lane, knowing it, and then finding those that it addresses their need. And it sounds like you're able to accomplish that and then build to grow that. So now walk us through. So what period of time or when did you start the business, and kind of walk through that evolution a little bit? You touched on a few of the things that you kind of expanded in services, but kind of give us a sense of what period of time that occurred over.
So I started in July of 2015, and I started heavily networking in like September, October of that year. So by January of 2016, I now had 6 clients. And I would say at the end of my first year in business, I was making about 25, $30,000 that first year, which, to a housewife, I was like, woohoo, party. I got shopping money and I can help pay bills, right? So that second year was crucial and critical, and it was really a nose to the grindstone kind of thing. I was learning the ins and out of social media management and having an understanding. At that time, Facebook had just kind of realized, oh, algorithms. Yeah, we're going to start putting stuff in front of people. So then it started rolling into understanding keywords, understanding that they're listening, understanding that your search history is important and vital. And all of that data was now being consumed by Facebook and Google, and it was determining how you were being seen online. And that's where social media management really started to become a crucial tool for a lot of small businesses that wanted to compete with the big guys, because it was and still is the most affordable way to market your business and get yourself out there, whether you're community specific or you want to go nationally or globally. Social media still has the biggest reach of anything that you're going to do out there.
Hmm. No, it sounds like a great evolution and learning, and watching as the industry evolves and evolving along with it. So now you started out, got your first client over cocktails, did some networking over a period of a few months, brought on 6 customers or clients. Had a good year, had some spending money, and paid some bills. Now, if I recall, now that's also grow or evolved into having, brought on a few additional people, expanding the team a bit. So walk us through a little bit as to how it evolved from you as kind of the single go-to person to how did you grow the team?
Well, after I got to a certain point, when I got to 10 clients, I no longer could give everybody the attention that I wanted, right? Because it's posting 5 days a week. It's creating content, curating content for 10 different clients on multiple platforms. It takes some time. So at this point, I've got my scheduling program down. I'm creating stuff. I've got my graphics programs down, and I'm creating stuff. AI is not in place yet, and I need somebody else. So I had started a support group for my daughter because she was looking for other females who were dealing with epilepsy and wanted to have people to have conversations with. So I organized a lunch, and one of the women that attended showed me what did she make? A newsletter for her HOA. And she was like, "Oh, I know you do this professionally. Could you take a look at this?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's really good." I said, "You could do this. You could like make a job doing this." Because she was too stuck at home, couldn't drive because of her seizures. And that's when I realized that this could be something that caretakers or people who are homebound can do. And I would really love to see Pace Setting Media grow into kind of a facilitator for people who want to start their own social media management business. A lot of people want to do this, but they don't know where to start. They don't have the framework or any of that. And that's where Pace Setting Media is going now, is helping others start up. But I digress.
No, that's no
So
digression whatsoever. That was it's definitely interesting to hear kind of how you one figured out, who you're going to help and what you're going to do to, provide the opportunity for them while also feeling the need of, hey, I'm expanding beyond my own bandwidth to be able to do this all myself. So it sounds like it was naturally a great opportunity kind of on both ends. And so kind of with that in mind, now as you've been in business, a good period of time, been expanding the team, bringing on additional clients, kind of where things at today, and also along with that, kind of if you were to look out to the next 6 to 12 months, kind of where do you see things headed?
so one of the interesting things, and it's frustrating in a way when you're trying to project out, right? You really want that crystal ball. And looking, I think the next big thing for social media is coming. Facebook is kind of losing its draw, mostly because of incidences of fraud, and companies are being harassed, and people just don't want to be there because of the fraudsters. And, I don't know if you've seen this on your own, where it's like, oh, you have a copyright violation, and whatever you do, don't click on the link. Don't click on the link, people. Please don't click
Hmm.
on the link. Just delete those. It's a form of harassment that I think has turned a lot of people off of utilizing Facebook. And it's going, if Facebook doesn't get a handle on it, they're going to see a severe decrease in businesses. And now personal Facebook pages are starting to get these harassing messenger messages as well. So I'm kind of sitting here waiting to see, okay, who's going to take this place, or is Facebook going to fix this?
Hmm.
The other thing that people need to realize is that social media is just one of the cogs in the wheel. They have to have a robust marketing campaign that's utilizing their SEO, that's utilizing their website, that's utilizing social media, so that all of these things are working together. You can't have just one of these options. You have to kind of fine tune all of it across the board.
Hmm.
And
No.
that's one of the things Pace Setting Media is turning towards.
Hmm.
We now offer SEO. We now offer Google Ads. We offer SEO and near me kind of SEO treatments for those people who are offering services in specific communities.
Well, sounds like, definitely it's always, if nothing else, change is always constant and always get to kind of evolve with the systems. And as you see things that, come up, it presents potential opportunities and you kind of wait to see how that shake out. So it sounds like a lot of possibilities yet to come and continual evolution. So with that, now as we kind of are reach the present day of the journey and even look a little bit to where things are headed, and great time to transition to the two questions I always like to ask at the end of each episode. So we'll jump to those now. So the first question I always like to ask is, along your journey, what was the worst business decision you ever made, and what'd you learn from it?
Worst business decision. I would say it's a combination of little ones where I tried out things without maybe doing the research a little bit more and put money out ahead of where I should have. I should have done more research.
Hmm.
And that's in programs, utilizing subscriptions. you tend to grab at a lot of things in the beginning of your business going, oh, this will help me, or this will help me. And instead of fully understanding the service you've already purchased or subscribed to, and seeing if those services are already provided to you. So not utilizing what you already have to its fullest.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think that, it's interesting. I think sometimes those are almost a death by a thousand cuts, so to speak, in the sense that, hey, here's this new or tool or new opportunity, and I'll try it out, and it's not overly expensive. Oh, that kind of worked, and then you kind of set it and forget it, and then you do the next one and the next one, and before or long, it's kind of that you got a whole bunch of these little tools or things you've tried,
Yeah.
and yet you never really give them, one, you may not give them enough attention or enough time or enough work on your end to do it, but two, it also is one where it can kind of snowball into you have a lot of things that you're really not utilizing. So I think that's definitely an easy mistake to make, but a great one to learn from. Second question now that I like to ask is, so now if you're talking to somebody that's just getting into a startup or a small business, what would be the one piece of advice you give them?
Marketing is key. Marketing, when budgets get tight, people are like, I can do that myself. But if you're not somebody who has an understanding of how marketing works and how messaging works, please outsource it, because you only get one chance to make a first impression. Now, a lot of people say, well, I never found them until later on. Yes, on social media, you get multiple options to make a first impression. Brand consistency is important. That would be my biggest piece of advice. Brand consistency is important.
No, I think that is definitely a great piece of advice and a great takeaway. And I think it's one where, a lot of times when you get started, you're just really looking at, hey, I just want to get myself out there, establish myself. You don't really consider those. And yet, a lot of times you miss the opportunity because your message comes across as muddled or doesn't have that consistency. People don't know what you're offering or why they should come and get your service. And so I think hitting on that is definitely a great piece of advice and a great takeaway. Well, now as we do wrap up the episode, if people want to reach out to you, they want to be a customer, they want to be a client, they want to be an employee, they want to be an investor, they want to be your next best friend, any or all of the above, what's the best way to reach out to you, contact you, find out more?
So they can definitely reach out to me via email, wendy@pacesettingmedia.com, or they can hit me up on LinkedIn. I'm always there. Those are the two best ways to get a hold of me.
Awesome. Well, I definitely encourage people to reach out, make a new connection, support a great business. If nothing else, make a new best friend. So, with that, thank you again, Wendy, for coming on the podcast. It's been fun. It's been a pleasure. Now, for all of you that are listeners that are out there, you have your own journey to share and you'd like to be a guest on the podcast, we'd love to have you. Just go to inventiveguest.com, apply to be on the show. Couple more things as listeners, make sure to click share, subscribe, leave us a review. Helps us to reach even more startups and small businesses to help us along or help them along their journey to success. And on that note, if along your journey you ever need help with patents or trademarks or anything else with your startup or your small business, just go to strategymeeting.com, grab some time with us to chat, and we're always here to help. Well, thank you again, Wendy, for coming on the podcast, and wish the next leg of your journey even better than the last.
Thanks, Devin.